Am I the asshole for bringing up my brother's premature birth at Christmas dinner to get my parents to shut up?
Weird. Okay.
I am a nurse practitioner and I am a primary care provider for a lot of low-risk maternity cases at the practice where I work. I also work hand in hand with the doctors and midwives to create a healthy maternity, birth, and postpartum situation. My fiance is completing her residency. We live together and have for a few years now. We aren't in any hurry to get married. We originally had plans to do so a couple of years ago, but then we got really busy for 2 years. It is driving my very religious parents crazy that their youngest son is living in sin. I don't really care. I'm an adult and I do what I want. We are getting married in June. So we are visiting my parents for Christmas. The way it came together this year, everyone is at my parents' house. So that's my folks, my 3 siblings, myself and fiance, and 7 grandchildren. So 17 people total. At dinner, my mom starts going on about how she is so glad that we are finally getting married and she won't be embarrassed at church anymore. And my dad says how proud he is of one of his 3 older kids who all either waited to get married before moving in together or got married right away after moving in together. My fiance was getting embarrassed and I was getting mad over this stupid argument we have had too many times before. And a family dinner was the last straw. I have asked them repeatedly to just accept that they cannot control how I live my life. I refuse to stay with them when I visit, even if I come alone. Hotels are just easier. So I started talking about a premature baby I had been reading about. It was almost 3 months premature and weighed about 1.6 pounds. It was super strong and healthy for being born so little, and the NICU had high hopes for the baby doing well. My mom and dad both got deer in the headlights look on their faces. Too bad. Should not have fucked around with my fiance's feelings. So I asked about my older brother. He was born almost 4 months premature. Is there a chance that we could check out the family album where we keep all the records of family births and stuff? I already know my brother was over 9 pounds and almost 23 inches long when he was born.
There's no way that baby was 4 months premature. No way.
My grandmother told me all about it the first time my parents tried to shame me.
I see where this is going.
The subject gets changed very fast. After supper, my parents told me that I should not try to embarrass them with private things that are not my concern. I told them that if I heard anything about my living arrangements ever again for the rest of my life, I would make sure to keep bringing up the fact that my mom was in her 2nd trimester when they got married. My parents are mad at me for telling them how to behave in their own home, but my fiance is happy that they seem to be off the subject for good. Am I the asshole?
Nope, not at all. Not at all. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on in that family, and I am not cool with it. Not the asshole at all.
No.
So doing the math, yep, that baby was no way 4 months premature at 9 pounds. I had a 9-pound baby. Second one, and he was 2 weeks overdue.
Yeah, that's a big baby. Ended
up getting a little stuck, but we got him out. So
traumatic birth story.
It's fine.
It's okay. It just messes with me. It's fine.
All's well that ends well. So, but yeah, no way that 9-pounder is 4 months premature. So I hate it when there's this double standard.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot recently. I think especially the way we treat our girls and our boys growing up is like there's kind of a double standard there, at least in my household. When it came to like sex education, there was a big double standard where like Matt got a cohesive sex education, and whereas me, it was like no sex before marriage and that's it. And like my mom did, like I did go on birth control in high school, and then my mom got shamed by the rest of our family. And lo and behold, I have cousins that are now in high school, young girls. Guess who went on birth control?
Yeah, when the shoe is on the other foot.
When it's convenient for you.
Very appropriately. Yeah. Very appropriately. I'm very pro.
No, absolutely.
Birth control.
Yes.
doing what works for you, knowing your values, and
but don't be a cherry picker.
Standing up for your values. So I think that people forget like how hard it is to be an adolescent, how hard it is to be a teenager, how normal sexual activity is in our everyday lives. It's a wonderful part of being human. It really, really is. And so to be shamed for it, not cool. Although I can really relate to this story actually because because I was brought up in a really similar household where we went to church every Sunday and it was abstinence only. And in fact, although Matt and I lived together before we got married, like it was just understood that we didn't talk about it in my family. Like that's how we dealt with it. So we didn't come out. My family was never like very proactive about doing any sort of shaming or anything like that. But we just, it was the unspoken thing where we just, nope, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to brush it under the rug. All Matt's stuff, it goes into a closet when my parents come to visit. And
that was at your college house, right?
Yes, like in college, and even
so did they not know?
And even in this house before we were officially engaged, I don't even remember. Once we were engaged, maybe it was acknowledged. It might not have been until we were married. That part is kind of fuzzy.
But college, they didn't know. You guys lied. Like he wasn't living there at all?
No, never. He was never living with me. No, I never did his laundry. Never did his laundry. No.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny.
Yeah. So I can really relate to that and how frustrating it is. And honestly, it's like you can't just be open and honest with yourself and with your family who are the people who love you most. Like, and it's a little bit of a cage that you're in and not feeling like you can just be free and talk about what's going on in your life and your experiences because, I'm not supposed to do this. So we're just not going to talk about it. So in this case, in this story, I mean, they're taking it one step further and they're like literally calling them out on it, basically.
I love it.
When they did the exact same thing.
I know.
Like
pot calling the kettle black.
Right. Like that's not okay.
Well,
come on.
It's so funny because I actually, and I don't know if my mom like ever really put this together. Maybe they did. But so I've been like interviewing my grandma for like a little time capsule for myself. And like,
that's sweet.
We sat down together and like I whipped out the mics and I was asking her just about her history and her first husband and what that marriage looked like. Yeah. And then, how did it go? You got married and then you had kids and blah, blah, blah. And I'd never really asked her this before, but my grandma is also one of those people that is very religious. Yes. And I was like, oh, you got married? Okay, you got married in August. And then you had Derek in February. And I was like, wait, Grandma, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. I'm like, Grandma. And the math, like, math ain't mathin'? It was not mathing. It was actually 6 months in between. And so it was 6 months. And I go, Grandma, what were you doing before you got married? And she goes, shh. And I'm just like, okay. And then knowing that, and then the way, she was really hard on my mom when my mom got pregnant so young, it's just like, like you were in those shoes once too. And I think don't you remember those feelings? I know. Yeah. It is really interesting. It's almost like we have amnesia or I don't know. I feel like for my mom and me, like because she got pregnant so young, it was almost the opposite where she was like so hard on me because she didn't want me to go through the same thing. Yeah. But that's not the case for this guy. No. I mean, he's a nurse practitioner.
Awesome.
Marrying a doctor.
Love it.
And if he's a nurse practitioner, I mean, he had his bachelor's in nursing, had to work for a certain number of years depending on what school. Then is a nurse practitioner.
Master's, yep. Or doctorate level.
Yeah. And so like the age, it's like it's not like they're 18 and living together and young and like naive and whatever. But like they're very established and they're engaged getting married. So it's like, come on.
Right.
Why this archaic pressure? There's a lot of comments.
Let's hear them.
From OP. I don't see any mentioning age. Some people are kind of popping off. The overall vote was not the asshole, which is good. It's got 50.9K upvotes in just 5 days, so it really did pop off. But people are like kind of weird. Like, they're like, not the asshole, but you shouldn't have disrespected your parents in their home. Which, like, I don't think that he necessarily did it in a super disrespectful way. He wasn't like calling you out, hey, mom and dad, I know you were having premarital sex. It was very discreet. Right. It was very discreet. It was very discreet.
It was like, this premature baby was 9 pounds. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting thing. Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah. And someone goes, and no conflict, no need for reassurance. There is no, my siblings are calling me out. My fiance thinks I went too far. And OP goes, nope, all of my conflict is with my parents. Sorry, I didn't exaggerate it for your amusement. So it's like, everyone else is fine with this.
Right.
It's just mom and dad because they got caught.
Right.
They don't want to be embarrassed. But it's like, hey, pot can't call the kettle black.
And we got to stop just caring about the Joneses and what they are thinking, like, and judging and whatnot. Just embrace who you are, embrace where you're at, be honest about it. And if you don't feel safe being honest, like, that's a really sad place to be in. So, and here's the thing. I also have siblings who did wait until they're married, and it worked out great for them. Mm-hmm. And I have the utmost respect for them and their decision to do that. That wasn't my route that I took. And I also think that worked out really well for me. And so, like, choose the route and the path that works best for you and your value system, but don't pass that judgment on to other people and shame people for things that maybe you're not choosing in your life, especially if you went down, like, the exact same path. And, like, just don't be a hypocrite, please.
A lot of hypocrisy, and a lot of commenters point that out. And like, I just think, like, I've come to this point in my life where, and I've kind of always been this way, but like, especially recently, where I'm like, I don't care what anyone does. Mm-hmm. No, whatever you want to do, whoever you want to love, whatever you want to be in life, whatever you want your life to be, go for it. Mm-hmm. I don't care what other people do. And I have a really hard time wrapping my head around stuff like this, where it's like, your kid is happy, successful, healthy, has a loving partner. Yeah.
So many things to be thankful for.
Exactly. And I just think about anything in life, people that are like up in arms about people being trans or gay or any of these things. It's like, does it affect you?
Right.
If the answer is no, fuck off.
Mm-hmm. It's not hurting anybody.
It doesn't. It doesn't affect you.
If your decisions are that you're going to be a serial killer, I have an issue with that. That's a problem.
Yeah.
But the things that we're talking about are not that.
No.
Okay. It's like, it's not on that level, right? So, love who you want to love, be with who you want to be with, acknowledge that sex is a normal, healthy, natural part of being human, and embrace that and do that in a safe way. So it's interesting. So because I was brought up in that environment, I always had health insurance, but I was always terrified and scared of my parents ever finding out that I was sexually active.
Oh, Planned Parenthood was my bestie in high school.
So Planned Parenthood, that's where I went. So, and actually Matt and I, oh gosh, I'm oversharing. This is terrible.
Oh my God. No, let's go. I love this.
I forget that there's like going to be like people watching this, and that I'm not just like sitting down and having drinks with my sister-in-law and hanging out and chatting.
Basically.
Right.
Basically. Matt, just you, me, and a couple friends.
It's just a couple friends.
Right.
So Matt and I started dating when we were really young, right? Like we were 17-ish. Like maybe we met when we were 16. We started dating maybe when we were 17. And we were each other's firsts, and we didn't have sex for an entire year. And that was just what
I like it. Yeah.
What worked for us, whatever. But at that point, like, I didn't get on birth control before I made that decision. And there were a couple like whoopsies with condoms. Like, that terrified me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was also a 4.0 student in high school. Like, I had everything theoretically like lined up,
Mm-hmm.
and pregnancy would be a really, really difficult thing.
Yeah. Well, especially being raised with like the purity culture aspect as
very
well.
Much purity culture,
Yeah.
very much you don't do it. Very much you're worth less if you do have sex. Your value as a woman just declines. Anyway, I don't agree with that. I'm going to raise my daughter differently. So
I love it.
Oh gosh, interesting conversation we're having here. So anyway.
Always.
So insurance-wise, I didn't feel safe going to my normal provider to talk about birth control.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Planned Parenthood, and they were so caring, so loving, so non-judgmental. And for years, that's where I went to get my health care as a woman in my birth control. And I like to say that because of them, I've never had a whoops or an oops or a whatever, because I was able to get the care that I needed for me. And so often when I see protesters at the local Planned Parenthood, and someday I'm going to do this. Ready? I need to get like one of those big cardboard signs, like the poster boards.
Yeah.
And then, when they have their signs, I'm just going to roll on up, and on that poster board, it's just going to be, thank you, Planned Parenthood, like for supporting me or something, that I never had to make hard choices that other women have to make.
I know.
So I just hold up that sign and be like, hi, how are you?
I know.
It's a great day we're having here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting women.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I think like so many people have this misconception that like all that Planned Parenthood does is like abortions.
Oh, it's
and
not.
that's not the case at all. So much
it's
of it.
Cervical cancer screening.
Yes.
It's birth control. It's
yes.
STI screening. It's so many different things.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, like, I know we have a very diverse listenership here, very diverse community. And like, I think, everyone's entitled to their own beliefs.
Yeah.
But I will just say, like, if you are very pro-life and fall on that side, then you should be standing outside Planned Parenthood and being like, hey, you guys are having sex? Get on birth control.
Right.
Prevent these things. Like, you should be so pro-birth control and quality sex education because the stats are there, the data's there, that the better sex education you give kids, middle schoolers, high schoolers, the less likely they are to have to make those difficult decisions.
Right.
So you might be pro-life, but hey, you should be fucking pro-birth control too then.
Absolutely.
Like, prevent what you're so scared of. Yeah. And you have the tools.
Yeah.
Don't be scared of them. Like, that just kind of, ugh. But for those, like, I'm going back to the comments on this one.
Let's get back on track.
And so many people are like really lost. They're like, can anyone explain this to me in simple words? And then there's another comment, okay, but I still don't get the premature baby bit. And so just for like, in case anyone else is a little confused for this story, there's a certain duration. It's about 40 weeks.
Yep.
Can give or take, here or there, depending on the pregnancy. And so the fact that OP's parents had a premature, air quotes there on the premature baby, but he was, 9 pounds or whatever OP said, it just kind of goes like the parents were lying about this baby being premature.
Right. Well, especially with their reaction with like, hush, hush, don't bring that up. Like, this is my home. Don't disrespect me. Don't call me out on my lies that I have like firmly established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that one. And then this is the last comment I'll read. But someone goes, you're the asshole. You aren't going to change anything by reciprocating hostility. You already know it's there and you know it's not going to change. Your parents will likely not change their viewpoints. And I think you're the asshole for just escalating it. You will temporarily feel like you showed them, but it will just create tension. And sometimes, even though you are right, it's not worth the fight. I think this is one of those times. And OP goes, no tension needed. They shut up. That's all I wanted. I'm a firm believer in sometimes you need to fight fire with fire. And I will say in this situation, at least, I think their fear of being personally embarrassed is going to trump their worrying about their son living in sin. Like, they're more scared about being embarrassed and being outed and being these things. Because, like,
right.
They're comment about, like, I can finally go to church and not be ashamed. Like, It's like if people found out this about them, like,
right.
So they're not going to bring this up anymore. They're going to be scared. This is a threat that they're going to take seriously.
Well, and how easy is it, honestly, to just let it be?
Mm-hmm.
Just let it be. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to shame people. You don't have to judge people. You can have your personal beliefs, and I 100% support that.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, I mean, I'm sure that's still their belief, and I 100% support them in that. I disagree, but you know what? They 100% support me and Matt.
Yeah.
And that's all okay. And here's the cool, again, getting too personal. Morgan, what are we doing?
I know, I didn't realize, I read the title in like a little blip, but I didn't realize how much the story like hits for both of us. It's really interesting.